So we've always said that the content of the Mishnah of Gittin, the content of the Mishnah of divorce, is generalizable in terms of breakage and repair. There's a theme of breakage and repair running through the tractate. And in the fourth chapter, we're going to encounter a number of examples of of something the rabbis call Tikkun olam, repairing the world. So we're not just repairing or fixing a relationship between two people, we are actually repairing the world. And we'll see Tikkun Olam now, of course, is used in a very general context, but we'll see in the context of the Mishnah in Gittin, it's used in a very specific context. The rabbis will employ this phrase when they need to change when they need to change a ruling in order to make something work properly, when they need to make a takana, an improvement. But let's jump into the Mishnah, and we'll see how the Mishnah gets there. It begins actually with a ruling that we think is probably not at all surprising, very, very rational. Hasholech get liishto, someone who sends a get to his wife. So he sent the get out with a messenger. He sent the bill of divorce out with a messenger. V'higia b'shaliach, and he reaches the messenger. Or sheshilach acharav shaliach, or he sends a messenger after the messenger. Amarlo, and he says to him, so either he reaches the messenger or his messenger reaches the messenger and says, Amarlo, get shinatasilach batelhu, the get which I gave you is null and void. The bill of divorce that I gave you is void. Hareze batel. It is annulled. It is void. That works. You can send a get with a messenger. You can annul it by sending out another messenger or by going out yourself and cancelling the messenger. That's not the only way. Kidem etzel ishto. Maybe he gets to his wife first. Maybe the husband has a faster horse and he gets to his wife before the messenger gets there. Kidem etzel ishto. So he gets to his wife first. Or sheshilach etzla shaliach. Or he sends after her another messenger. Again, a super fast messenger. Amarla. He said to her, get sheshalachti lech batelhu. He says, the get which I sent to you is annulled. So rather than reaching the messenger, he reaches the wife. But either way, he gives the message, the get is annulled. And at that point, it works. It works. Hare ze batel. It works. But, and I think we can all sort of understand this, but im mishegia get al yada eino yachol levatlo. Once the get has reached her hand, he cannot annul it. And we've always said, by the way, that the functional element of the process of get is when it's given into the hand of the wife. So once it's given into the hand of the wife, it can no longer be annulled. Or so we think. So we think. But the Mishnah is now going to bring another process, another story. This is historic. This is historic. Probably 200 years before the Mishnah was codified. Originally, a husband would convene, would call together a court in another place, in some other place, wherever he was, and he'd annul it. So he sent this get off with a messenger. But hang on, he's going to convene a court. The Mishnah says in another place. The sense here is clear that this is a place which is other from where his wife is living. So his wife has no knowledge. His wife has no knowledge that this court has been convened. So she's going to receive a get, but that get will be faulty. That get will be annulled because he has in some other place convened a court to rubbish it, to annul it. And of course, we can just imagine this is a really dangerous situation because She's got this get. She's now free to remarry. But the get was cancelled. She's still married to her first husband. And we can think from a social point of view, if we know this can happen, of course, women won't feel themselves free to remarry because they'll think, well, hang on, is this a real get? Or maybe it was cancelled by some court in some other town that I'm not aware of. Hitkin Rabban Gamliel Hazaken. So Rabban Gamliel, the elder, made a tikkun. He made an improvement. He made a correction. Made a takana, hitkin. It's from the root to fix. This is Rabban Gamliel Hazaken. So this is basically the first years of the Common Era. I think Rabban Gamliel Hazaken is contemporaneous with Jesus. It's that sort of time. So he makes this tikkun. Shelo lo yehu osin ken mipnei tikkun olam. This should not be done because of tikkun olam. We don't convene a court to annul a get because of tikkun olam, because we're improving the world. Barishona. Let's have another anecdote. Originally, Hayam Mishaneh Shmo Shma Veshem Iro Veshem Ira. Sometimes the husband, or originally the husband, would change his name, or his wife's name, or the name of his town, or the name of his wife's town. So, in other words, the get would be invalid because it has the wrong name on it. And in those times, of course, people might have been known by different names and they might live in different places. So again, we have a get, but it doesn't work properly. So what do? Hitkin is the same language. Hitkin Rabban Gamliel Hazaken. Rabban Gamliel, the elder, made a tikkun. He made a correction. Sheyehei kotev, that he should write. In other words, that the language of the get should say, Ish ploni v'chol shem sheyeshlo. The man, such and such, John Smith, and any name that he has. Isha plonit v'chol shum sheyeshla. The woman, such and so, Mary Jones, and any name that she has. In other words, we're going to write the get in a general way. Mipnei tikkun ha'olam, because we are fixing the world. Let's carry on. Let's see more of these. A widow, ein almana nifrat minichse yeshomim ela bishfua. A widow can only collect. When we say a widow can collect, we mean collect her ketubah, collect the money she's due under her ketubah. She can only collect her ketubah, from the property of the orphans, ela bishwa, by taking an oath. She has to take an oath that she hasn't already received the money of the ketubah. We learned this halacha in ketubot. People were very nervous about making a widow swear. Nimna'u milhashbia. People actually did not want to make her swear. And of course, maybe she didn't quite understand the difference between money that she's taken in order to provide for herself or for the orphans, and money that was due to her under her ketubah. So the financial status of the property of the deceased is not always clear. So people were afraid from imposing an oath, and that meant, by the way, she couldn't get her ketubah. And we never want to be in a situation where a woman can't get her ketubah. So the Mishnah explains, Hitkin Rabban Gamliel Hazaken, Rabban Gamliel the elder. Rabban Gamliel the elder made a takana. Here's another takana. He made a takana, Shetei noderet leitumim kol sheyirutzu, that she could take any neder, any neder that they would specify. In other words, they would say, look, they'd specify some neder, look, may such and such be barred from me if I've already received the money of the ketubah. A neder that she was happy to make, vegova et ketubata, and she could collect her ketubah. So in other words, he arranged for women to collect their ketubah. Similarly, ve'aidim chotmim al haget, witnesses sign their name on a get. These are probably according to Rabbi Elazar, these are the witnesses to the get being handed over. Haidim chotmim al haget, the witnesses sign their name on the get. Mipnei tikkun haolam, because of tikkun olam. Why? Well, obviously, a witness, the witness might not be available. A witness might die. There might be many, many reasons why a witness's verbal testimony is not available. So they sign on the get. Tikkun olam. It's an improvement to the world. Hillel, he'd kill lifrosbol. Hillel. So now we're a generation before Rabban Gamliel Hazaken. Hillel made a takana for the prosbol. Mipnei tikkun haolam. Because of tikkun olam. The prosbol is a way to transfer debts to a court in the sixth year of the seventh year cycle. So people refrain from lending money towards the end of the 6 years because they couldn't collect their debt after Shemitah year. So Hillel instituted the prosbul, which allows a debt to be transferred to the court, and then, of course, the court can collect it because of tikkun olam. So whereas the annulment of debts in the seventh year seems like a great idea for poor people, in practice, it meant that poor people could never borrow money. And so Hillel made a tikkun.